So, welcome, Lisa. It's such a nice time to see you and have you in this episode. We're so happy.
Thank you. Good to see you as well. This is very exciting.
So, we're so happy. And for the audience, to put you into context, we are in the month of May. And as you know, that's a month where a lot of countries celebrate mothers. Actually, more than 60 countries worldwide do celebrate mothers. So we have decided, Ellen and I, to handpick 4 amazing moms from around the world who inspire us, and we're so sure they will inspire you. There's something about the 50 plus now that we both experience is very cool about being 50 plus, and we really want to celebrate moms. So watch out, employers, watch out, startups. Watch out, youngers. We think you're going to be shaken up. We hope so, and inspired. So each of the women that we have selected and are featured during the months have some characteristics. They walk the WUSUT talk, the wake up, shake up, thrive talk, and they totally embrace their life beyond 50. They've been thriving at motherhood, at work, as a woman as well. And they fully support the WUSUT message to take up the mindsets and wake up the conversation about the age. And today we are lucky to have Lisa Sicre, who was born and raised in Sweden. And from a young age, Lisa grew up surrounded by captivating furniture designs, thanks to her parents. And in turn, the beauty and the creativity of their home inspired her to love interior design. And then a few years later, Lisa moved to Switzerland, where she had an exciting career in worldwide known organizations such as Levi's, the jeans company, and the World Economic Forum, where she held the position of membership relations manager for the retail and food and beverage sectors. And then Lisa spent the last 30 years designing, creating products, organizing living spaces, blending her clients' preferences with her own sense of style. And it was while working in the world of interior design that Lisa discovered the infinite possibilities that lampshades can offer to a living space. So it became obvious that she had to take the big leap of faith and start her own company, which is called LampshadesDubai, active in the Middle East, in the lampshades design that has been booming and very successfully run by the enthusiastic and passionate Lisa. So Lisa has been working with numerous private clients throughout the Gulf, in addition to some of the well-known luxury and hospitality brands today, including the One and Only Group, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, the Edition Abu Dhabi, Amazonica Restaurant, the Mandarin Oriental in Qatar, Il Boro in Jumeirah Al Nassim, and the Four Seasons on the Croche Islands in Seychelles. So fantastic brands. Well done, Lisa. She's been living in Dubai for the last, more than 50 years now, close to 18 years, right, Lisa?
Yeah, almost 18. Wow.
Yeah. So passionate about travel, to get inspiration about yoga as well. I'm always impressed of your pictures when you're actually practicing yoga, and well-being too. And last but not least, she's also a mom of 2 young adults, Isabel and Sebastian, who have promising careers. So that's who we have today in our episodes of Celebrating Moms. So Lisa, can I ask you a first question? We would love to hear from you what your major milestones have been and why you considered them so impactful, so important for you.
Leaving Sweden was probably one of the big milestones. Moving to Switzerland and then living there for quite some time. Learning French was a big milestone. I always loved the language. And then every job that I had in Switzerland before I started interior design has led to me being able to run a company today. Because with Levi's, I was it was merchandising, operations. With World Economic Forum, it was sales, taking care of clients, organizing events, organizing in general. And with all these backgrounds, as an entrepreneur, you need to have a lot of different experiences in order to be able to understand the market and know which direction you should go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that has helped me a lot. So those are milestones as well with every single job that I've had, big or small. Then obviously, you know, having children is a blessing and a huge challenge as well. You know, small kids, small problems, big kids, big problems, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, definitely. And but it's fun. It's fun to see them grow. It's fun to see them taking decisions now today when they're a little older on, I want to do this, I definitely don't want to do that. And by the way, my daughter is in behavioral psychology and HR. She works in a startup. Yeah, she works in a startup for behavioral psychology and bringing that to corporations here.
Beautiful, wonderful.
So, and she's coming back to the word that you're mentioning later, is that she's totally thriving. She absolutely loves it. Absolutely.
Wow, wonderful.
I think she's really find her niche.
Mm-hmm.
Her why.
I want to go more into that. So yeah, that is also something, you know, behavioral psychology. Jesus, living in the Middle East is a major milestone. I've learned so much about people, cultures, respect, religions, everything. It's just something that I think is extremely valuable and that I think the rest of the world really needs in a certain way, because there's way too much negativity about this part of the world. And it's simple, people don't understand, you know, and when you don't understand something, you're not in your comfort zone. So you criticize instead of opening up.
True.
And that is something that today, when I travel back to Europe, it drives me crazy.
You can sense it.
Oh my God, I see it
The
everywhere.
difference, yeah.
I see the difference everywhere.
Mhm.
I see the way people look at each other, you know, with disdain, almost like, you know, who are you? Why are you interrupting my little world, you know, with immigrants and so on. So that has been a huge milestone to learn different cultures and to travel to different countries as well. Obviously, living in the Middle East has given me it's closer to Asia. Not that I've seen a lot of Asia, but I'm still working on it. But yeah, the difference, because here you can do anything here in Dubai. I attend Russian concerts where I was the only one not speaking Russian in the entire crowd.
Wow.
It's insane. It's just, you learn so much and you get to live their culture there. And that it's the same with every single nationality. So I think that is probably one, apart from having children, of course, it's like the biggest milestone that I have experienced. That I have experienced, yeah. Moving to a place that I didn't even know where it was on the map when we started talking about it. I had no idea where I was going. And then just trying to leave from here a couple of times, and every time I come back, there's something here that is just, well, the weather helps, right? But yeah, and then obviously starting my company, yeah, that was the last milestone. Also, I also find that milestones is about everything. It's not about just work or moving somewhere. It's also about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think in that sense, one milestone is really when you wake up and you start looking at yourself in the mirror and you start working on yourself and that obviously yoga helped me to that, but I was recommended to start yoga to deal with stress. So, but it brought a completely different perspective to life. It really has. Because you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and now it's today it's a lot of work on myself all the time. Meditate every morning. I do asanas, yoga asanas every morning, like the movements. It doesn't mean that I don't lose it, right? I can get really upset as well, because living with so many cultures around you, it's also extremely frustrating because nobody does things the way I'm used to. Still, you still remain very square in your head. Like, this is what I learned in school. This is what my father taught me. This is how it should be. No, it's not. And it's still super difficult to deal with that every day.
So you keep learning.
I keep learning every day. Yeah, all my employees, every employee comes from a different country. How do you deal with that as a manager, as an owner of a company? How do you deal with Hinduism, Catholicism, and Muslim? How do you make them all get along? You know,
it's pure inclusion, isn't it? And I'm fascinated by the fact that, and you're right when you talk about the milestones. It's a building, actually. They're mile steps, and one leads to the other.
Exactly.
And I love what you said about the entrepreneurship piece, because that's something that Dominique and I have researched. And research shows that entrepreneurs over 50 are 5 times more successful than the younger entrepreneurs and the startuppers that are 25. And the reason is exactly what you said. You had all those builders before. You had what you learned from Levi's, what you learned from the World Economic Forum, what you learned from your parents. And it kind of all compiles together. The day you create that little project, which is your business, you have the tools. And you do not have them when you're 25. So I find that fascinating. What I also find fascinating is how you are inspired by watching your children thrive, and how that feeds you and it keeps you going. And this
definitely
learning.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, I don't know, doesn't everybody like see your kids?
I think what we've observed even just this week is that older, let's say 50 plus, we enjoy more seeing others thrive than we did at 2025.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
At 2025, there was a little bit more competition, and the words, even just the confidence, the self-building, the self-confidence, even the fact that you're in a posture to say, I'm dealing with 4 religions, how am I going to do this? Before, you might have put up a front or been defensive, whereas now you're embracing it. You're embracing it and getting on with it and actually enjoying it. So I think that is a different
I like it. Yeah, I do. And I'm really happy that my kids got the opportunity to grow up here and be surrounded by different nationalities, because they have a completely different view on the world. Completely.
Yes.
You can't even, and by the way, it's very interesting, because it started before. Now they have left school and they're working full time and so on. But when they were in school, they were in an American curriculum, like IB American school. And this school has actually managed to be a very well respected school in the universities worldwide. And I think it's not only because of having excellent students. They have an excellent reputation as a school as well, but also because they work so hard. I have never seen anyone work so hard. I mean, the IB at that school compared to the IB in Switzerland,
no comparison.
No comparison. They work so hard. And when they get to the university, the first year, they're like rolling their thumbs. They're like, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Covered
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
3 years ago in our school. So I found that was interesting, but also they had a really easy time to integrate.
That's
Because
what I was thinking
mixed-
as you were
mixed
speaking about the
nationalities.
cultures. Yeah.
Yeah, all the mixed nationalities, and understanding that, okay, this doesn't work here, or you don't do like this, or you don't do like that.
They know it ahead of time. Mm.
They know ahead of time. Yeah. And
It was
that has
really a gift
been
for them.
interesting to see.
Totally. And it's a life gift, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I see now they don't want to live anywhere else as well.
Interesting.
Well, they grew
Do
up
you
here.
think, speaking of your kids, do you think that these life decisions you've made, do you think that you would have made different decisions had you not had kids?
I've been pondering that question. I don't know. I don't know, because I think that life, you have a journey to do in your life. And that journey is, and this might sound a little, I don't know how spiritual you are, but so I find that there is a journey that is already set for you. You can derive from it and go completely, you can go completely lost, or you come back to it and you continue, and you're deriving and you continue and deriving and you continue. And every time you derive, you learn something about yourself or the world, and you continue. So had I not had children, I would not have moved to Dubai. That's for sure. For example. Or we might have, being married, not having kids. But then the question is, if I had not been married, would my life have been different? Of course it would have been different. Yeah, of course it would be different. But I still think that some things are meant to be and some things are meant to happen. And which is why I also think that, everybody talks about this 40-year life crisis. I don't call it a 40-year life crisis. I think that's when you are old enough to start realizing that maybe I made mistakes earlier on. Maybe this is not where I want to be anymore. Passion is calling. What I've always wanted to do is this and this and this. And then if the partner, or if they are married or not married, but if they're married and the partner doesn't follow in that evolution, I would call that, it's not a 40-year crisis. It's because when we get older, we get more self-conscious.
It's a midlife. And we see it at 50, we see it at 40, but this midlife reset. And I think everybody has, midlife reset. They talk about the the midlife crisis. It doesn't have to be a crisis. It's a reset. And I love
it's a wake-up call.
It's a wake-up call.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the partner is with you on it, and sometimes they're not. In fact, this week in our 4 interviews, 2 had the reset and they followed, and 2 had the reset and they didn't follow. And they both ended up thriving with the decision they made midlife. It's a huge pivot point, Dominique, to spar off of, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The midlife reset.
And the impact always comes from the decisions that we make along the way. And what we found in the various stories and working with a lot of people internationally is that it can be any age, but there comes a time where we take distance and look at life with different eyes, and we say, well, okay, for the rest of what is ahead of me, what will I do with it? And with whom and where and so on. So there's a different consciousness, as you said before, where in the past we tend to just get into things and either work or live, but there's a sense of urgency where later on it's not that we don't work hard, we do work hard, very hard, and we are very active, but we look at life with different eyes and taking some distance. And that leads me to the next question, Lisa, and I'm sure you will love that one, is what do you find cool, excellent, fantastic to be a woman of 50 plus, whether at work and at home? What do you find it's super nice?
What we've noticed is that when we've invited moms like you to do this interview, it's an introspection, and the experience itself of putting it on paper, of gathering what you've done. We'd love to hear you tell us what that is like as an experience.
It made me think about it, because I also, well, I have that kind of personality as well, that I will always push forward. I don't take no for an answer. And that can create a lot of havoc around me as well. Which I have learned to, which I'm still learning to live with. And I actually have a personal coach as well.
That's also inspirational. The fact that we work with external people, that we reach out, it shows your open-mindedness as well.
You cannot figure yourself out alone. Well, I guess maybe you could, if you could go and sit in a cave like Buddha and meditate for 50 years. Yeah, you would, you would eventually figure it out, but the world doesn't work like that anymore.
No.
So you need help. And there's lots of help out there. And that's one thing that I find is also super interesting. It's that the world is opening up to help.
I agree.
As compared to 30 years ago, when you said you needed a psychologist or a therapist because you were not feeling well, people would go like,
oops, yeah.
There's something wrong with me.
Yeah. Today you're not cool if you don't have one.
Today we embrace it much more.
And probably because the world is moving faster, to work with somebody, whether it's a mentor, a coach, somebody who can really help you, allows you to go faster to where you want to be, rather than going around and around and around and reflecting by yourself. So it's also a way to speeding up the milestones.
True, but it didn't exist as much.
No.
A couple of years back, there was no coach.
Yeah,
I never heard of a life coach.
No.
My parents, I don't even think the word life coach to them, what does it mean? They don't, it didn't exist.
Today, and it was, I remember when we first knew each other nearly 26 years ago, 27 years ago, we had someone around us, Vanessa Shaw, who was being a coach. We were all like, what's she learning? What's she doing?
I know. What is she talking about?
What is she talking about? And here I am today, one of the leading coaches in the world, and I've done all those things. So tell us, Lisa, what is this about? The advantages of being 50 plus.
The advantages of being 55.
Or disadvantages. I don't know how you see this, huh?
Well, body-wise, it's not great. I flew off a marble staircase last weekend. I slipped. I didn't pay attention, and I flew off, and I hurt myself so badly. I was lucky. But healing takes a bit longer, right? Takes a bit longer. So yeah, I think that's one of the disadvantages, but I think that's really the only one, because otherwise I find that the brain is way more awake. You're more
Why do you think that is? Why do you think the brain is more awake? I agree with you, but I'm curious. Why do you think that?
Experience.
Probably. We have less, the paths are shorter to pick things up.
Yeah, and then it's also about, it also depends on if you're a working mother and you, first of all, if you're working, you, I would presume, read quite a bit. Yep. If you compare to how many books have you read today at the age of 50 and how many books you had read at the age of 25, and the topics, it's totally different.
You've just got more data.
Sure. Your brain is more open, you're more flexible, you're more devoted in a certain way to what you do. Before when you were younger, you would work and it had to be fun. Otherwise, you wouldn't stay in the job.
That's super interesting. Super interesting, because some people think that when you're older, you're less flexible, you're less adaptable, you're less. Whereas what we notice is that we are more adaptable, more flexible, as loyal as we used to be. So there's a difference there.
And more advanced as well in terms of knowledge, in terms of self-knowledge, in terms of experience, in terms of and kids bring a lot as well, you know, they open up, they all decide to study different things. Already that opens up a lot of discussions, a lot of different topics that you might not necessarily look into unless you have them thrown in your face. Yeah. So
you know, in my house now, Lisa, I have an engineer, a lawyer, and a finance banker. Those discussions, oh my goodness.
Well,
So
it's
it goes
right?
right over my head.
I totally agree. It sometimes is really difficult to know what they're talking about.
Absolutely, but that's okay too.
You know, my son is working he's working with trading. He's in trading. So
my daughter too.
Yesterday, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to Google what that means, because I cannot admit that I don't know what it means.
But good for you for Googling it, not just checking out, you know.
You're proud as well. You cannot admit that you're over 50 and you actually don't know the word he's talking about.
Right.
But otherwise, I would say that I think it depends on experience as well, and how you see the world yourself. Are you a happy person? Are you a sad person? Are you enjoying what you're doing, or are you doing it because you have to? All of that counts. All of that, for sure. For sure.
Now you're an employer, you know, you have employees, you've got a very successful business. At work, I don't know the age of your employees, but even as an employer,
they're not that young.
Okay, so that's interesting. And this is kind of what we're wondering is, what can we do, you know, in the corporate world, or if you're an employer, what kind of advice can you give about employing people that are older, however, wherever you want to cut that off? Advantages, disadvantages, thoughts about that.
And it could be your experience as an employer, or what you see around you in companies, what could be done to change the mindset, but also to elevate the lives and help people that are not as young as they used to thrive within companies.
You know, it's such a hard question, because the older you get, the more expensive you are for companies, which is one negative.
Yes and no, but that's interesting. Isn't that interesting? So in your mind, older people are more expensive.
Yeah, that's what I see around me.
Okay, interesting.
That's what I see around me here. I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but here they tend to, which is probably why the population here is quite young as well. They tend to hire younger people, but they certainly don't get the same quality.
Okay,
that's where we were going.
Yeah. You don't get the same quality. You don't.
Right.
I mean,
so
I hired an assistant recently, and she's 45. I've known her for, I don't know, 12 years, something like that. She was working in another company that I used to work with when I was doing interior design. So I've known her for a long time, and she called last year and she said, yeah, you got to change. And I said, well, join me. But she's 45. So of course, yes, she's more expensive. I really had to sit down and think about that. Can I afford her? But yes, I can, because I mean, she came into the company and she just took over.
Wow. So you can't afford not to. You really need people.
No. I was very insecure about being able to pay her. And she even agreed to a lower salary to start with, because I'm still a startup, and 2 years of COVID has been very difficult, you know.
I'm sure.
Started 2 years before COVID. You don't build a business in 2 years and then you get slammed by COVID and just survive. It was only about survival back then. Only now, since last year, I can actually feel that we're moving somewhere, you know. And I also feel that for me, I needed help. There's only so much you can do in a day. And if I want to give the company, if the company is to be seen as efficient and professional, I needed help.
And we're stronger together.
That's a price to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an investment. It's an investment in the company.
But the return on investment is different than when you get unexperienced, maybe cheap from a face value basis.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you put all the costs,
get peace of mind.
Yeah.
You don't get peace of mind when you hire a young one. They're like just like running around with like a chicken without a head, trying to impress everybody, and to the only thing that counts is money. I see that with the young here. They're like, oh, I'm not earning enough, so they're changing job. And they what do they earn? 500 Swiss francs more per month, you know?
Yeah, and that costs
when you're young, it's
a
important.
lot of money. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you're young, it's important to them. Today, I don't see it like that. I don't see it. It's not about money. It's about so much more.
Interesting.
You know, I hear two huge things coming out. And first of all, I have to really acknowledge you on something huge. Again, you've asked for help. And if this is a message that can come out of this conversation to all of those, especially mothers, but not only, but I will say especially women. So moms, women, and then all the rest. Often moms take it all on their shoulders, and they do, and they don't ask for help. And I'm guilty of that. I am guilty of that. I'm kind of a what do you say, a control freak in the family, even in the family unit. And I really have to take a deep breath and let go to ask for help. So bravo you, Lisa, because along the way,
I'm the same.
you've known to ask for help. It's a really big, great message I think we can pass to people.
Yeah.
And so
I also think that it depends on where you live. You know, because here you want help, you got it. They're knocking on your door every day. 5 people can knock on my door. 5 people can walk into in my workshop every day and ask for work. Help is there. It's a different situation. This is a dilemma here because we're close to Asia, so a lot of people from Asia are coming over looking for a job, and it's hard for them. There is nothing back home, you know, and they'll take anything, which is then we go to abuse. How many companies?
Well, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
There's a lot of abuse. You know, if I get, I will only pay you this much, and then they work. Although now we have a lot of laws and regulations, so it's getting more and more difficult to. Oh yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yeah,
thank God. But we even have to register employees on a government platform to make and transfer their salaries on there to make sure. And there's unemployment as well as of this year. We have to put a certain amount for unemployment. We also have to save for their pension every year. So there's lots of these things. So obviously, if you take somebody who's older, they're going to cost more, but the experience is, you just cannot. Money is not important. It's experience. If you want to build a business, you need experienced people around you. If you cannot run a business with people that don't get it.
Yeah. And what I find interesting from what you were saying before, Ellen, in terms of looking for help, what I find admirable with you, Lisa, is that you looked for help, but you looked for help for a purpose, you know, to leverage your business or to accelerate an integration or to make your evolution, personal development easier, faster, but there was a purpose behind it. It's not looking for help just because you feel lost or you feel in pain or whatever. It has a purpose to get somewhere faster, more easily, more deeply as well. But there's an objective, a goal, a purpose behind it. And I think the consciousness that you put behind it is the advantage of being wiser. Because you have something in mind behind the decisions that you've taken, and I love that.
Me too.
Yeah, well, you know, it's around you, right? So use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything is available. Although, it's also a question of money, right?
Yes and no, because again, being very experienced in the world of coaching, the number of coaches and the opportunities. In fact, I'm writing a paper on it right now. Coaches that give pro bono, that offer, that do group. There are ways of seeking help that doesn't need to be costly. And even
absolutely.
With looking for help, we can find help all over the world at different price levels, etc. We have sought out help where we feel we can also help them. So I don't think it needs to be a blocker. I can't afford help. And I think that's a really important message to pass.
Yeah.
I think it depends, honestly, because if I look at my employees, they're all 40 and above. Their salaries, everything goes back home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're having a huge
everything goes back home. So I am their coach, which has helped me really it's helped me grow. Seeing them grow helps me grow.
Like with your kids.
I am teaching them so much about basic things that nobody taught them before. Just because they're good in what they do doesn't mean that they have studied for it. Nobody has studied for it. None of my employees have been to they finished school at, I don't know, 12, 13 in their country. So in a certain way, I'm their coach, and that's very rewarding and extremely frustrating at the same time, because sometimes you get they do something and you're like, Jesus Christ, how many times have I told you don't take a loan from a friend, for instance, because it's always about money.
Of course,
it's family.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing in Thailand.
For these people, it's family and money. That's it. Nothing else counts. But the first employee that I have, he's from Nepal. He's still with me, and he's been with me now 5 years, which is great. And he came to me the other day and he said, can I talk to you about something? And I said, yeah. One of the first times he's actually come to ask me about something. Usually I see on him that something's up, and I take him to the side and I ask him what's going on. And he said, I was thinking the other night, is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
Wow.
And I thought,
I hope so.
yeah, for me, yeah. But, it was a really tricky question, because if I tell him what is your passion? What would you like to do? I might lose him.
Yeah, you might.
So it was a really tricky question. I felt like, how do I help him? So basically I told him that, well, first of all, it's entirely up to you. We're all born, we are allowed to make choices. And I said, but you are building this company with me. He's built it with me. If it wasn't for him, I would be nothing. He's the one who knows. He understands, he gets it. Because he was in lamination before, which was I was very lucky. So he was in lamination before, but it's something that a job that he just fell over. It's not something that he was studying for. He never studied. I don't think I've ever asked him what he really would like to do in his life. Maybe I should. But I'm trying to make him understand that you are part of this company. You're the backbone of this company. Without you, I'm nothing. But as a boss, you cannot say that. So, because then you might lose respect. So it's really this, you have to, you're the backbone of the company. And he knows that. And actually yesterday he came back to me and he said, I want you to know that I'm very proud of where we are today with the company. That was cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's a poor guy. He comes from the mountains in Himalaya. He's when he goes back home, he's like milking sheep and chasing chickens. It's
wow,
totally different world. So, but it was nice to see that he had thought about it, that he acknowledged it, and that he was not necessarily thinking about, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Yes, you are. But you can grow. You're growing with the company. You will always be the backbone of the company.
And he's getting proud of it.
Yeah, he's getting proud of it. And that's super important. And I think you can make anyone proud in a company as long as you support them and acknowledge them and see them.
That's a wonderful statement. You can make anybody proud, and in general, whether it's even in your family or in your company, you can make anybody proud, whoever they are.
You have to see them, really see them, look them in their eyes, talk to them. Because if you're just gonna, okay, I'm not running a multi-millionaire dollar company. I don't have 1,000 employees. I guess yet. But it's tricky because the more I hire people, the more I have a tendency just to walk in and say, hi. No. You have to walk up to each person, look them in the eyes and say, good morning. Otherwise, they don't feel valued. But coming back, I completely left off topic. We're still talking about how do you make women above 50 valuable in a company. But I think, just look for experience. Don't look at the money. Look for the experience and the flexibility of the mind.
Yeah, very good advice.
The flexibility of the mind is really important. Like I said, before I was like, if I could find, and I think if I had, my company was in Europe, I would probably find easier women over 50 to work with me. Like if I could find someone here who's good with a needle and a thread, I'll hire her immediately. And because they can do it from home. But it also depends on which business you're in. If it's a corporation, I don't know if they can really work from home,
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Clearly.
I would love to have more women over 50 here that are willing to work. Most of them are here, but they don't want to work. So
yeah, interesting. That's so interesting to listen to you, Lisa. We have before we close the session today, we started with a big question and we wanted to end with a big question. Is today, what the word thriving means to you, and is that any different from what it would have been 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago? What does it mean for you to thrive?
Oh, totally. I mean, we touched upon it before, that when you're young, when you're young, you think that you're thriving because you have a well-paid job and you can travel and you can go out and you have a big friends group, but that doesn't include the mind at all. I think thriving today is about knowing where you are, and you have to study yourself. You have to go deeper. You're not going to evolve anymore. You can continue on that 25-year-old kind of thriving of just making money and getting married and having kids, and then boom comes 40, and that's where a lot of people just suddenly just stop. And I find that once you get over that and you find yourself again, however you do that, it's about self-contemplation, consciousness about yourself, self-development, which brings flexibility to the mind, which, they say less is more. I totally agree with that. After the age of 50, thriving, it's not about money. It's not about who you are. You want to be seen everywhere. You want to be, today with all these social media as well. I mean, it's just insane. If I didn't have my company that has to be on social media, I wouldn't even have it. I'm not interested. And the younger generation, like my kids, they're like, Mom, why you have to do this interview, you have to be in that magazine. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to. I just want to do what I'm doing today the way I'm doing it and make it work. And I don't need to be seen or to be a millionaire, so it's totally completely different thriving aspects.
Yeah, the purpose is different.
Yeah, absolutely different.
We are so lucky that you have actually accepted to be shown to the public through us. And I love what you said, less is more. And even the I don't care. At one point, what I'm hearing in there is, I know what I do care about today more, and those things I will care about, and other things I won't. And what's interesting is what Dominique and I do actually. We've noticed that when people have their head in the steering wheel, working, or making money, they don't do the stop you've talked about. They don't necessarily take the time to stop and take a breath and assess what they do care about. And we kind of force that into people's lives. We are the people that people call on as an external resource to have a stop, to actually do that 360 about their life, to figure out what they do care about. So we are completely aligned with your thinking, and you're very much in line with what we observe in general, not only with women, but with people in midlife.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's changing as well. I think I find what's interesting here, for instance, in Dubai, is that it's a super hectic city. It's glass, it's stone, it's sand, it's a million cars, a million people. It's like, it's very intense. So the other side, the counterparts, everything that has to do with exercise, healing, wellness is huge. It's huge here, much bigger than I would say in a lot of different places. It's like a melting pot for the wellness and the self-discovery roads here. Also, because also we have all these religions. Look at all the, I don't know how many different Indian religions there are.
Yes.
How many gurus there are. They're all coming here because we're craving it, because of the city that is so hectic.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, that's very
really interesting. It's really interesting because you have this. I don't think I know anyone today that does not do anything within the healing, self-healing, wellness area.
Fantastic.
Whereas in Switzerland, where people can walk out their door and be in the mountains, in the fresh air, and sort of accessing their inner self just by walking out, opening their door.
Yeah.
A lot less of that. That's fascinating, isn't it, Dominique?
Yeah. The really, craving is different.
But we have beautiful mountains. We have beautiful sea, the beaches. Okay, 6 months a year is too hot, but but
early morning and late at night is better.
yeah, exactly. So, but we have that, and people do go out. They've built beautiful areas everywhere that people can use, and people go to. I love going to the desert. It's the most calming area, but you go with a car and you drive on the dunes. It's not like searching for yourself sitting on the hill meditating.
Yeah, and it's not an everyday access multiple times a day.
No. And a lot of people don't have access to it. A lot of people don't have access
to it. Thank you so much.
It's been fascinating listening to you, Lisa, and to get to have a different view of what it means to live in Dubai as a mom, as a 50+ entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur. So yeah.
Do we need to wrap up, or do we need to wrap up, or can we talk about women in the UAE?
Oh, we can.
Oh, please share something about women in the UAE.
Of course,
because I think it's really important. They're working really, really hard to integrate women in the professional society here. Obviously, culturally, it's a little difficult, but there are very big steps of having women both in the government and on in big companies. It's still low, but they're working very hard to integrate women into the marketplace. And what I find living here is something that I have always admired. I really do admire them here. I really do admire the population, the Emiratis. I really do. They have this softness about them. They have harsh sides as well. Okay, but there is this different flow with them.
Yeah.
And they really try hard. They really try hard to beat the gap between men and women. They really try hard to make sure that women are earning the same as men. And respect here for the woman is huge, which I find that in the rest of the world has gone a little bit out of the window. Yeah. The respect here is huge for a woman, but really,
it's amazing. And thank you very much for raising that up, because there's a lot of preconceived ideas.
I was just going to say
absolutely.
that.
And that's what I experienced as well in Tunisia, which is also a Muslim country, is that women have much more access to high-level jobs. There is much more respect for women, that within the family sphere, women play a much bigger role than we think. And sometimes it's important to remind other people how it can work and is working in other parts of the world.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think people, again, getting back to what I said at the beginning, this lack of understanding, which brings negativity and harassment and all the rest of it, instead of really trying to understand what's going on, it's a big problem in the world. And in companies are judging. You're old, you can't, you're old, you're not functioning anymore. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not the way it is. So yeah,
we couldn't agree more. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I agree there are misconceptions, and you have definitely shed a light on that through your beautiful lampshades, by the way.
Thank you. So yeah, I think it gives people fruit of thought. Don't come here and think that you're just gonna live in a hotel and party. There's so much more.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thriving with us, Lisa. Fantastic.
It's been great. Thanks a lot. And yeah, for your time, for your passion, for being authentic and being yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.